Today, we're going to break down Yeti Smash here at Town Hall 12, and we're going to teach you how you guys can use this against different base designs and with different variations. First, let's go over the basics of the Yeti Smash before we actually move into some advanced things that you can do with this attack. Now, this attack strategy, we're going to be looking at this first example in an anti-2-star base, something that you guys might see a little bit more commonly while you're farming and trophy pushing and when you're in war. So this is going to be very easy to deal with. You can either use one of two things. If you know that your Yetis are going to move into the base, then you can go ahead and use a jump spell and get to the town hall. However, if you are scared that the Yetis are not going to take the jump and just wander onto the outside, make sure that you go ahead and use a battle blimp with 2 Yetis in there and use a rage spell in order to allow the Yetis to get rid of the town hall. You want to make sure that this is the case, that way you're able to easily go through the rest of it with the Hog Riders and with the Yetis and bowlers that are left over. So let's give you a little bit more of a basic introduction into using this one. So you will be using a Warden walk, so you want to make sure that you're getting rid of something maybe like this, more specifically the Inferno Tower. Getting rid of this is just going to save you time, and you could use a rage spell, especially if you are crunched for that time. So you want to make sure that that is the case. Now, the other thing that you also want to make sure that you're doing is creating the funnel on either side. So you want to create the funnel here for the Warden. So you're going to be using a baby dragon on that side. And then if there's things like collectors or storages, you may want to use Sneaky Goblins in order to get rid of these. Remember that collectors take only 1 Sneaky Goblin to get rid of, but storages will take 3. So keep that in mind if you boosted them and you want to use them in a Yeti Smash. The other thing that you want to do is create the other side of the funnel. So you can use the Siege Barrack, the King, and a Yeti in order to create this part of the funnel. That way you're able to control your Yetis when you start to move into the base. So now that you know exactly what you're doing with the funnel, let's kind of show you guys this in action. So we're going to be starting off by creating the funnel on either side by using the baby dragon, the Warden, and the Sneaky Goblins. So we want to make sure that we are creating the funnel just enough so that way what we're able to do is allow this Warden to go in specifically for the Inferno Tower. You'll also see the use of the Yeti. The Yeti mites will take down defenses on the outside, while the Yeti clears up any structures like the gold storage or anything like that. Now, the other thing that you might want to do if you're using a Warden walk is going to be using the rage spell, and this is only if you're crunched for time. So if you notice that you can get rid of the Archer Tower or any other defense that's there or even a storage and you want to speed up that Warden, this is huge. You have to use this if you're going up against the Town Hall. Now next, after you do this, is you want to place in your Yetis first. Wait on your bowlers until you know that you can get them all to go in, but you also want to use the Yetis in the Warden aura. That way you're able to lure him over and he's there to support your Yetis. So this is really an example where we're able to get all of these Yetis to go in and we're using the Siege Barrack in order to create even more of a funnel. Here we got really lucky with the skeleton trap popping up, and that really did help the Yetis and bowlers move in. And we've also got the use of the jump. We use the Warden ability to deal with the clan castle, the poison as well as there to deal with the clan castle troops, and we're using the rage spells and the healers are there in order to support the Yetis as they get into the town hall. And we sometimes even have to use a freeze on the town hall to instantly get rid of it and help support the Yetis as they move through. And using the rage spells there is just going to help boost the Yeti mites, boost the Yetis to go through, increase their damage for both the Yetis and the Yeti mites. Now you could also use Hog Riders as well if you are definitely looking for something to use on the back end, and if you're using the Siege Barrack, you're most likely going to be using the Hog Riders. You can also use them in a heal. You can also bring a heal spell if you want for this, but it's not mandatory. We're going to show you guys a couple examples of doing just that later on, but for the most part, that is really everything that you need to know. One last thing though as well that you need to know is using the healers to switch from the Warden or the Queen onto the Yetis and the bowlers in order to make sure that they're able to push through and you're supporting them. Now this gives you guys an example of a basic example of how you guys can use this against anti-2s and how you guys can use this overall. Let's give you guys a couple more examples, and the next one that we're going to be looking at is using lightning spells. Now this one is going to be using the Zap Quake. Like I mentioned, the Zap Quake here is going to be used not to just get rid of something like the Clan Castle or for the Inferno, but we're using it to support the Warden Walk. So using it on something like this, getting rid of not just the Inferno Tower, but the Air Defense and the Archer Tower, it's just going to help us when we're trying to save time for that Warden Walk. And that way what we can do is allow this Warden to walk this way and then enter in with either breaking through the wall and then using the jump spell, maybe a regular wall breaker, or using a super wall breaker. The other side of the funnel can be set by using 3 witches and the king to create this side of the funnel. That way we have an easy area of the base to kind of enter into, whether that be some of them walk this way or they walk around and take the jump spell here. So there are things that you really want to consider if you're going to be using this attack. So for starters, we want to talk about the Warden Walk. Very similar to what you saw in the first one, except this is a little bit more of an anti-3-star. So we want to use the Zap Quake around defense, around the multi-target Inferno, in order to get down other defenses around there. I would normally want to use 4 lightning spells in order to get rid of those, and that way you're able to support your Warden Walk further. Now this is where you can also go ahead and use the witches and the king to help create and establish a funnel on the other side. Notice that we're not using the siege barracks. If you don't have access to it, I would go ahead and use a battle blimp like I've mentioned before and use witches instead of using the siege barrack. It's going to be a very similar approach. Now, once you're able to sort of move everything through, you can use the siege barrack if you have it in order to sort of support it by having the wizards, the P.E.K.K.A., everything right behind it. And you can easily move in. You can use the Warden ability to keep a lot of these Yetis alive. You can also use a heal spell a little bit later on to support these Yetis as they continue to move into the base. And you've got wizards starting to flow in as well to help support this attack. More ranged units in the base is really going to help. Now, another thing that you can do is bring Hog Riders in the Clan Castle. So while your entire attack is dealing with everything, and this is the reason why I'm zooming it out, you can see the Queen's dealing with the Town Hall, and that's very easy. You can use Hog Riders here. You may want to use a heal spell in this case, especially if there's a lot, like a Tesla farm, the King's over there or something like that. You may want to use a freeze and heal to support the Hogs, but you don't need to exactly do that. We're going to show you an example of how to use the heal spell with the Hog Riders later on in this video. But what this shows you is really giving you an idea of what you should be doing with this attack strategy. You want to make sure that you're able to move everything into the base, even when you're thinning out with Yetis and with the P.E.K.K.A. still left up from the siege barrack. But if you don't have too many Yetis left up in the field, it can really be a really hard part in order to get through the rest of it, especially if they run out of Yeti mites. So you want to make sure that those Yetis are still supportive by having those heroes up. And we were able to get this 3-star because of all 3 heroes still being up, still having a Yeti there in order to support with the Yeti mites as well, and it's just easily allowing us to move through. Now this is just one example of adding the lightning spells in the Earthquake. We've got more examples of doing different things with the Yeti Smash. Not just using the lightning spells, but also going ahead and using the Quad Quake as well if you don't want to use the jump spell or if the base is not suited to use a jump spell on. Next up, we've got another variation using the Quad Quake. Another thing that we're going to talk about within this section is just talking about when to use the heal spell with the Hog Riders. That's something that is going to be very important and something that you may want to use. Another thing that we also have is the use of extra Hog Riders in our army composition to help support those Hog Riders, which is something that is going to be very important as we talk about that section. So for starters, we want to talk about the Quad Quake. You want to try and open up a nice area of the base that will open up a large section of it. So you want to try and get rid of things like the Town Hall, the Eagle Artillery. So you want to try and opening these compartments up in order to make this possible. And also getting rid of stuff like the Inferno Towers are also going to be very huge, because you want to make sure that you are limiting on the number of walls that the Yetis are having to push through. So that is why Jump and Earthquake are very good. Another thing that you can do with this is using the Sneaky Goblins, you can go ahead and get rid of stuff like storages and collectors. That way what you're able to do is provide a support for your Warden Walk. That way you're not wasting any time and you're able to get down defenses and other buildings around there to create a funnel. Remember that you also want to use a baby dragon to create one side of the funnel and control your Warden. So that's exactly what you want to try and do to make sure that you're able to create a nice solid path for your Warden to move in a specific area. Once you notice that he's going to be walking into a specific way, then you can create the other side of the funnel. In this case, we're using the king over here to create a funnel, and we're using the siege barrack to kind of go this direction and get rid of some of the defenses down here. What we're doing at this point is just making sure that we're able to use the Yetis and the bowlers to kind of move everything to go this way and allow everything to start moving in. Now at this point, once you've got your Yetis and bowlers down, you can go ahead and start using your Quad Quake. And you want to make sure that you're using it in an area where you're going to be able to open up as many walls as possible, including the area that you're entering into. This way, you're able to enter in and make sure that you have the Warden ability in order to protect all of your Yetis as they go into the Town Hall, and making sure that everything is all safe for the Yetis and the bowlers to move through. Another thing that you will want to use is the heal spell, and we talked about this as well. As your Yetis and bowlers are kind of going across the entire base, you can use the heal with either your Hog Riders or your CC Hog Riders, or even both, in order to have a ton of support. Now this is where your attack might start to thin out. Like you see here, this attack is 100% starting to thin out. Due to the Eagle Artillery still being alive, it's just going to make it easier for the base to defend. So you want to make sure that you are setting that to being a priority. Get rid of the Town Hall, get rid of the Eagle Artillery as soon as you can. You don't want that 400 DPS from the Eagle to start stacking up. So the other thing that you could do to support everything is, if you have a leftover rage, try using that with your heroes and everything else as you continue to move through. This just gives you a really, really solid example of just using it with the Earthquake, using the heal spell for the Hog Riders, either yours or the Clan Castle or even both, and allowing to use the rage spells to really overwhelm the rest of the base. Let's give you one more example of how you guys can use the Quad Quake, but let's also show you guys a high risk, high reward spot that you can actually use the Yeti Smash in if you're going to be doing just that. Now we have shown you 3 different variations of using this attack strategy in different ways. The final example, this one here, is giving you that example of using both a Jump and Quad Quake. This is going to give you an idea of what you should be doing. Now this base is going to be a little bit more of the high risk, high reward. We're attacking from the opposite end of the base to getting rid of this Town Hall level. It does come really close to the wire here on this one, and this is the reason why this one is last. It is not set in stone that you're always going to triple with this Yeti Smash attack, and it's definitely not going to be something when you're attacking away from the Town Hall. You always want to try and go for it. So this example, we're going to be using a Warden Walk, very similar to what we've seen in the past. But what we want to make sure that what we're doing is we want to go ahead and get rid of the Inferno Tower. If you take a look, there's no storages in the path of your Warden Walk. So you can actually, you don't need to use a rage spell at all, and you could just go ahead and allow your Warden to walk up and get rid of defenses like the Archer Tower, the Inferno, and getting rid of other buildings to create and establish a funnel. This is exactly why it's very important to know when to use a rage and when it is not. So only use the rage if you're going up against a multi-target Inferno that is protected by a storage. Now, at this point, you will be able to drop in your Quad Quake once your Warden has basically taken that down, and you could start using that Quad Quake. Notice where that Quad Quake was placed as well. After creating the funnel by using the king on one side, we can then send in and use a jump spell to get everything to go in, and we just have access now to the rest of the bottommost part of the base. We're using the siege barrack to create the funnel on the other side. We're just helping continue some of that support. But another thing that we're doing is having the Hog Riders take down the Eagle Artillery. So as we're moving in, you can see that we still have a wall of Yetis still up. The Yeti mites are still going everywhere, but that does show it's starting to thin out a little bit. We're not getting closer to the town hall, and everything's starting to go in this direction. But this is where you can also use the Hog Riders to help support your Yetis. And that way you can use a heal spell like you see here in order to keep them alive and moving through. Now, like I said, this one is coming down to the wire. It's going to come down to using the Queen ability. So this one is a little bit more of a high risk, high reward payout if you're using this attack away from the town hall. You're never guaranteed this, especially on an anti-3 base like this. So you want to make sure that you are getting enough value, but if you can't control your Yetis, so if they go up here instead of going down, you may want to fix up your Quad Quake placement if it's a fail. You want to then go ahead and make sure that the Quad Quake is just a little bit lower. That way it doesn't open this, but instead still opens this town hall compartment and everything moves downwards, while the Queen can go ahead and step up and get rid of the multi-target Inferno. This still gives you a very solid idea of how you guys can actually use the Yeti Smash here at Town Hall 12. It just gives you an overall sums up what you should be doing when you guys are using this attack strategy. For the most part though, hopefully you guys did learn something from this video, and let me know what you guys thought about this video as well. Did you guys learn the Yeti Smash, and what do you guys think of how you guys can use this with different variations? Let me know in the comments below as well if you guys want to see some super troop attacks like super witches and maybe even super archers as well. Let me know in the comments below. But remember guys to subscribe to the channel, ring the notification bell for more educational Clash of Clans content like this one here. Make sure that you guys also go ahead and ring that notification bell so you guys don't miss it. And another thing, make sure that you guys go ahead and follow me over on the social, join my Discord server, and make sure that you guys use code CorruptYT in the Clash Champ shop to save 10% off your purchase. Other than that though guys, that's going to do it for the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I'll be seeing you next time. Corrupt, signing out.